So we have a little bit more than 20 people here. It's probably more gonna drop in as we go. So let's kick this off. Let's kick this off. And this event is recorded too. So those who's missing out will be able to enjoy the recording. So Tyler from Amun, welcome to this session of ours. And I've been looking forward to this because you guys have this index thing that I'm intrigued to hear more about. So maybe we could start off with what is Amun? Would you be able to explain it?
Yeah, and thanks for having us. We're, I guess, just little background. We launched SOLI, which is the Solana index token, about 3 weeks ago now, and we're brand new to Solana. So really, we're just trying to, get our name out there and meet the other people in the ecosystem. But a little background about Amun. So Amun was started a little less than a year ago. It was basically born from another company called 21 Shares, which is the largest issuer of crypto ETPs in Europe. And what those are, it's basically allows you to buy cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. You can do that on a few European stock markets. So the reason why people would do that is these large family offices or institutional money, they can buy and sell crypto in a tax-friendly way. And that's good and all, but it's very heavily regulated, obviously. So then the founders thought, what if we did this? But I guess to back up a little bit more, then they did make one regulated product called HODL, which is on a few of these stock exchanges, which is a basket token of 25% Bitcoin, 25% Ethereum, and a couple other things. And that was really popular because in the traditional market, like stock market, when people think of like investing or their retirement accounts, it's usually these index funds or ETFs where it's a lot of companies in one, where you can hold it essentially forever. And the good performers will be added in and the bad performers will be kicked out. And we thought that's really popular in traditional finance. Why don't we do that for crypto? Because there's really a lot of cryptocurrency index funds. So really what Amun is, we make these index protocols, and we have three currently. DFI, which is Ethereum DeFi index, Pico, which is Polygon ecosystem, and then SOLI, which is Solana ecosystem index. And we have a couple more planned, but that's really a high level of what Amun is.
Cool. That is what Amun is. But it's a pretty decent idea, in my opinion, to do something like this. I mean, we're seeing almost on a monthly basis new projects on Solana that is coming with financial products we can see in legacy space, so to say. It seems like Solana is the best suited blockchain for traditional financial products in a way. But you guys have been operating on other blockchains prior to Solana, right?
Yeah, I started on Ethereum, but due to the nature of the product, the index, let's say there's 8 tokens in it. If you want to mint the index token, that's 8 swaps on Uniswap, and then you need to combine all the tokens and get the actual index token. So you can imagine the gas fee gets up there. And that's the same problem that like DPI has. We're very similar to DPI. So then we thought, what about Polygon? Polygon's growing really fast, and the fees are, very cheap. That's how the Polygon ecosystem came to be. That was in, I think, October last year, somewhere around there. And that went really well. Then people in the community were like, what about Solana? So so then we did Solana, which was a whole nother challenge because the previous smart contracts for DFI and Pico, those are EVM blockchains, so we can essentially reuse it. But Solana being on Rust, it's like some custom development for us to do the index. So it took some time to develop that and then get it audited and, of course, do all the testing. And then, launched 3 weeks ago.
All right. So Solana seems to be more suitable. We're gonna talk more about like why Solana later on. But now, as we got some meat on the bone here and some fundamental understanding of what you guys are doing, so that leads me to the question: who are you guys? Who's the team behind it? Would be really interesting to hear about that.
Yeah, it's a really common question with crypto stuff because there's so many like anonymous, but we aren't anonymous. If you look up like Amun or 21 Shares, you can see since 21 Shares is very heavily regulated, you could see like all the board of directors and the founders. So really who started it was two people, Haney and Ophelia. They're both Forbes 30 under 30 members. I think Haney was on it like 3 years ago and Ophelia was on it last year. They've both created some other financial companies, financial instruments, and I don't know the whole story of like how they met and did this, but they did. They created 21 shares, and just building a team around that of engineers and just business development people, marketing, community managers. Me personally, I came from QuickSwap. I was head of listings at QuickSwap, which is the largest AMM on the Polygon blockchain.
Ah, okay. It makes sense you guys explored Polygon in that way. Yeah. Okay, got it.
Yeah. QuickSwap's cool, the AMM, but when I really thought about Amun and like these index products and these index tokens and comparing it to how the traditional finance has these index stocks and these ETFs that just grow in popularity, it makes total sense that crypto is the next place for this to be. Because I'm sure when you guys talk to your friends about crypto, they're like, "Oh, what coin do I buy? What coin's gonna 100x?" And there's so many coins that are being made and so many coins that die out. If you tell them the wrong one, they're upset. Of course, like most go down. So why not just buy an index that adds these top performers and kicks out these poor performers, and you can just hold it indefinitely until you want to sell it, and it will grow with the ecosystem. So that's what we did. It's just one token. You don't have to worry every day what the prices are up or down. You just you can sleep at night knowing that poor performers will be kicked out and good ones will be added in.
All right, cool. So the team has some like serious experience and kind of like standing in general in the world if they're on like this Forbes list. That's pretty
Yeah,
interesting. I did not know that.
yeah. That's another reason I was like very keen to join because yeah, the people are very serious and very knowledgeable.
But how big is the team in total? Like, how many people are you guys and ladies?
So on strictly just the token side, there's probably about, I'll call it 15 people that are like hardcore just tokens because this is still like very small. I think we only have 1.5 million AUM on the token side, but the 21 share side is, I think right now it's about $2 billion in assets under management, and that's about 85 people. So really, it's like 100 people.
100 people.
Yeah, between
Holy.
the two, they're essentially like sister companies. 21 Shares wants the Amun side to grow, the Amun side, but it takes time. The nature of our product isn't this 100x Moon Lambo bag that these crypto people want. We are a safe, I won't call it safe, but like a more safe index solution. So it takes time to gain trust, things like that. It's more of a slow growth strategy, which we're fine with. And even, I guess I'll go a little bit into like how we make money. Very similar to how the traditional index and ETF works. They take a management fee that just comes out like every quarter, like 10 basis points or something, and you don't even notice it. So we do the same thing, but we actually have no fee until 2023. So I hope that just is like a way that to show that we're not here just to make a bunch of money really quick and leave. We're not going to make a penny until next year.
Oh, that's some really good commitment right there. So no income until next year.
Geez, until next year.
All right, cool. It gives everybody like an honest chance to try this. If somebody's new to these kind of index setups and so on, it's comforting to knowing that you're not gonna have to pay any fees to try it and see if it's something that one is interested in trying. That's great. Cool. So, well, you touched a little bit upon like why you guys went with an index, with index tokens. Would you mind like elaborating a little bit more on that? Like perhaps who is the target audience for this index tokens? Because you touched upon like institutions and so on and family offices. Are these the ones that you guys are targeting, or is it something for everybody to participate in?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we want to design the project so that, of course, it makes sense for everyone to have it. There's a lot of project out there that's more like gambling, and we don't want to be like that. I would say like these institutions and people looking to get exposure to blockchain or exposure to Solana ecosystem, but don't have the time to like research these projects and know which ones to buy. Our target audience is a passive investor that doesn't really have a lot of time to maybe do research and invest themselves. They just want to buy and hold something that will grow with the Solana ecosystem. And that can be institutions or that can be just regular people. And another thing too is you could buy $1 of SOLI or you could buy $1 million, and they'll both get the same rate. I know a lot of the traditional finance, like these index funds, ETFs, they're restricted to, you have to be like an accredited investor or you need to invest a certain amount. And usually it's a crazy amount, like $100,000 plus. So we don't like that. So yeah, really, to answer your question, it's for everyone.
Cool. I can think about several people that I know in real life that would probably enjoy something like this. Like you said, like these kind of people coming to me like, Sebastian, what token should I buy? Should I buy this or that? It will be just so much easier to them. Like, hey, want to get exposure to the Solana and the Solana Defi ecosystem, just like look into an index. Very useful. Cool. So it's something for everybody, but obviously something for these kind of long-term investors and family offices and so on. That just, yeah, cool, got it. You spoke a little bit about why you guys got involved with Solana. You looked into Polygon, but then you went with Solana instead. What is it, like Solana speed that is interesting, like the transaction speed and so on, or is it something that do you guys believe in the Solana for the long term, or was there anything more to the reason why you got into Solana more than what you already said?
Yeah, there's a few reasons we went with it. So one of the main ones was many of these other blockchains are EVM, and it's very easy to create stuff on EVM because you could just fork things that are existing. With Solana, you can't just fork something very easily and make your own. So we thought, we have this engineering talent. Why don't we build something that like hasn't been done before on Solana, a like fully backed index? Because it's easy to make these like synthetic indexes, but there's some like regulatory issues around there and also like safety. So our index products are fully backed by the underlying constituents. So yeah, the first reason was just like because it's difficult, we can show that we can do it and be the first. Another thing was, of course, the transaction speed and the low gas fees. And then really the third reason was Solana's market cap has just exploded, and we thought that the amount of usage is lower compared to the market cap it has. So the rationale there is like there's room for it to expand, the DeFi part of it to expand to reach the Solana market cap. So that's another reason we just see all this stuff being built on Solana. So let's get an index product out before all this stuff comes to life, so then we can like, add it to our index product. And another thing too, it's good to get these indexes out early because then you have a price history. Because the whole trust thing is people can have a really good idea on these tokens, but if there's no history of it, it's hard to know if it's a good idea or not. So now that we're 3 weeks old, you can see how we've grown against like Solana or against the other tokens, and the graphing is only going to get better.
Nice. Okay. Solana, in my opinion, is going to be the #1 blockchain out there. So good choice. Good choice. Sorry?
Bigger than Ethereum?
I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty big on Ethereum myself as well. So I imagine the future being like multi-chain. I think that there's going to be enough market shares for them. But if I would have to bet, I would bet.
Okay.
But I don't know what my Ethereum bag says about that. Ethereum is huge, but Solana has a lot of cool things going for it. But okay, cool. So you were talking a little bit about these different tokens and being early and so on. So that makes me quite intrigued about the inclusion criteria. Like how does the decision making look like when it comes to including tokens on the DeFi ecosystem into this index?
Yeah, so the initial way it was set up was based on like community feedback and just like us looking at it. And what we decided was there's a couple things you need to be included in SOLI. And one of them is you need to be native to the Solana ecosystem. What that means is like most of your TVL volume and users have to be on Solana. So, for example, if something like Curve comes to Solana, and even if it gets a lot of usage, like I'm assuming it will get more usage on Ethereum than Solana, they couldn't be added since they'd be considered a Ethereum project. Another thing is liquidity requirements. So right now that liquidity is you need $1.5 million of liquidity in a single pair. And the reason for that is when we do these rebalances or adding and removal, our smart contract goes on the dexes to buy and sell these tokens to lock them in our smart contract. So if there's not much liquidity, we end up having a big price impact on the dexes, which can't happen. And then another thing is like audits, just traditional that. If the project has a reputation of being a scam, even if it's got a high market cap, like it couldn't be added. So those are really the main things on how to be added. And then rebalancing, well, we look at things like the token's market cap and liquidity. There's a Git book on our site that goes with the math. I won't get into it here, but if you're interested, you can look there. And then also the inclusion criteria and rebalance. This can be updated by a governance vote. So users that hold SOLI, I'm not sure what the amount is right now, but if you hold a certain amount of SOLI, you can initialize a governance vote. Let's say we'll lower the liquidity requirement from 1.5 million to 1 million. And if that passes, then the smart contracts will update to also include tokens with 1 million LP. So yeah, we want to be like decentralized, but of course it's hard, so we do what we can.
So if I have enough solid tokens, I can use that to participate in governance, basically. But does that mean that I can participate in governance on related to the Ethereum index coins you have?
Nope. So the snapshot is taken of the user's SOLI balance. So only users with SOLI can vote on SOLI things, and there's a separate governance
That's
for
super. Oh, that's so cool. So there is like a, how I'm gonna call it. You guys are you're moving towards like DAO aspects and including your users in deciding the course of development. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's definitely the plan.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so there's more to the solid token that I understood. Okay, nice.
For the inclusion criteria too, I think there's 5 tokens in it right now, but it can be up to 10. So just at the time of starting, only 5 tokens met our inclusion criteria. If some tokens get bigger, we'll happy to add up to 10.
Cool. So max 10 then. But I'm looking at right now, and you have Marinade, Staked Sol, mSOL. You have Serum, Radium, Tulip, and Solana. It looks like Marinade, the largest allocation, 34.82%. I'm going to share a screenshot of that in the chat as well. And that leads me to the question. Obviously, mSOL plays a big role here. But from your perspective, like where does mSOL really fit into this? And why did you guys look at mSOL instead of just the native SOL?
For sure. So we were planning on doing just normal Solana. After looking at Marinade, like the decentralization of it, the mission, the liquidity you have, it just makes sense. Like, why not help support decentralization of the network with mSOL, and also give yields to users that hold SOL through mSOL? It's a no-brainer to us. You guys promote like just helping out the network, so why don't we help you help the network, kind of thing?
Participating in that mission of making Solana robust, secure, and decentralized. Yeah, Massimiliano, maybe there will be MND Marinade tokens there in the future if we meet the criteria. But we'll see about that. It's really cool to see the weighting here, where we see mSOL is having the biggest weight. And that means that personally, when I'm looking at this index, then participating in this index is basically participating in securing and decentralizing the Solana network. Is that a correct way of looking at it in your point of view, Tyler?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. Like Lush is saying, in the end, it's like a no-brainer of using mSOL. But awesome. That's really cool to hear. We'll see what kind of role mSOL plays in the future there. But I'm quite certain that mSOL is going to be part of the index henceforth. But when it comes to having these tokens here now, I'll share the screenshot of the tokens, but there could be more tokens into it, up to 10. But there's a rebalancing, and I think you touched upon it like once a month. Well, would you mind like elaborating a little bit more about the rebalancing of things? Because it's done through smart contracts and it's automated as well, if I didn't misunderstand when I did my research earlier. So yeah, how does it really work?
Yeah, so it is automated, which is, I guess I'll call it both good and bad. It's good that there's, no human interaction necessary, so there's no like bias towards what's added and what the weight is. But also, the smart contracts aren't perfect, so we need to make sure it's not like adding something weird. So the first rebalance is today, and I'm not sure what time it is, but there is another token being added, which is pretty cool.
Oh, which token?
I don't know if I can say. I don't want people to front run it.
I'm here ready to click buy, but sometime today you will have a pretty interesting update then. That's pretty awesome to hear.
Yep. So first of every month it rebalances, and then the math, I think it's on our Git book. I don't know if off the top of my head, but the smart contract looks at the market cap and also the amount of liquidity on dexes, on Solana dexes, to then rebalance the weighting.
Okay. It's very well described in documents. For those listening now and also listening to the recording later on, I suggest you visit the Amun.io and then check out their Git book. They have a really good explanation of how things works there.
Yeah.
If you want to get into the details.
Amun.com.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. Okay. Shit. So, anyways, you guys have the link in the chat as well, directed to the Git book, and you have a really good. They visualize like how it works there as well, with some pretty interesting photos there. I'm gonna actually share because I'm enjoying this myself a lot. I'm gonna just share a screenshot of that into the chat. Okay, cool. So the rebalancing is done once a month, every month on the 1st, right?
Yep, correct.
Okay, interesting. But you guys are pretty young, 3 weeks into the game here at Solana, and but you're young in Solana. You've been operating on Ethereum, right, for a while.
Yep.
So far, like, what would be like the main accomplishments in your perspective when it comes to Amun?
Yeah, so something that we did with SOLI that was actually pretty cool is I think we're the first index token to launch the launchpad. So we launched with Star Launch, and usually with launchpads, it launches a token that's essentially worthless. That's what the launchpad's for. It launches the token. But our token, like, no one can just mint SOLI for free. Like, you have to have the underlying constituents to be able to mint the token. So what we did was we gave a 10% discount to users that participated in the presale. At launch, SOLI was worth $6, but you were able to buy some for $5.40. And then that's vested over 180 days. But I think it was a unique solution because we got a lot of people into SOLI, even though it really shouldn't be in a launchpad. But we did it just to give a discount and kind of for marketing and just to get people interested in it. Another thing too, I think we recently launched Pico Polygon ecosystem and DFI, which is our Ethereum ecosystem. I think we're the first index project on Bitmart, and we have another exchange coming up. I don't think I can say which one it is, but we're going to be the first index projects on that exchange, and SOLI's going to be in there too. So those are some cool accomplishments. And of course, like I mentioned before, SOLI's a big accomplishment because it's the first fully collateralized, I'll call it like decentralized smart contract based index on Solana.
That's pretty cool in my opinion, and just that is a huge accomplishment. Cool. You guys had time to do a lot in a very short time, following the Solana speed narrative. So
yeah, and then
awesome.
and then of course, like for the futures with SOLI and Solana, we want SOLI to be on like these lending and borrowing platforms. So imagine you could have SOLI. You can either lend it out or like mint a stablecoin based off the collateral you have in SOLI token. There's a lot of things that can be done with it, and stuff that's already done with Solana. But now you can hold a bunch of different tokens, and it will rebalance without you having to unstake your collateral. So there's definitely some interesting things that we can do coming up.
We are going to address two more questions that I have. I would like to understand, like, what's the main like challenge from you, like from your perspective, when it comes to building an index token? It sounds pretty straightforward, but it's probably way more advanced than I think it is. So what's the main challenge?
Yeah, the biggest thing is, of course, creating it, but even after creating it, you got to think of, I guess we have to think of like the maintenance of it. So, what do we add? What do we remove? How does that happen? How does it happen in a decentralized way? Because of course, with index, like we want to at least be on par or beat the average market. So the real problem is like, how do we do that? How do we outperform the market, or how does SOLI outperform the market? So that there's a lot of like research to be done on how we do that and how we include things and how we weight things. But of course, the past performance doesn't tell you about future performance. It's really just like a game of how we do that. So that's the biggest challenge, is making SOLI a token worth holding.
That's a challenge for any crypto project, like creating a proper utility of it and so on. But yeah, cool. There's another question. I would like to check with you what's next coming up here in 2022. But before I go on to that question, I'd like to understand, is there a way to lose money on SOLI? If I buy a bunch of SOLI tokens, can I lose money, or is it impossible because of the rebalancing, or like how does that really work? What are the risks here?
It'll follow the tokens that are inside of SOLI. For example, mSOL is the highest weight. If mSOL goes down 20%, like SOLI is probably going to go down 20% too, since we just are an index of the market. So in terms of losing money, yeah, I guess it's the same thing as like holding mSOL or holding SOL, really holding any crypto token. It's just SOLI is 5 tokens in one. So it really depends on what those 5 tokens do on the SOLI price, what it does.
Yeah, it's an index after all, right? So yeah, worth keeping that in mind. So getting to SOLI means one is appreciating, one certain value increase in the like DeFi ecosystem that Amun supports. Got it. So 2022, what's ahead of us? What's coming up? Is there anything interesting, maybe some alpha you can share to us?
We actually do have, so I don't think this has been done before, but we're calling it like a layer 1 token. So essentially, the tokens like BNB, Ethereum, AVAX, Phantom, Solana, what if we take those tokens and look at their market cap and look at the TVL in the ecosystem and make an index token based around that? So it's one token, which is going to be like our layer 1 token, that will rebalance based on like size and total value locked of each ecosystem. That's something we're in development right now, and we have a really good idea how to do it. And like I said before, this isn't going to be like a synthetic product like some have done. It's going to be fully backed. So that's something coming probably Q2 this year. That's something we're really excited about, because like I said, I don't think it's been done before. And it's when we talk to people about it, they are like way more interested in that rather than other products like Polygon ecosystem.
Cool. I can imagine, like with Solana speed as well. You talked about Q2, right? 1 quarter is 3 years.
No, it's crazy.
By the end of this year, you guys are gonna be like really consolidated, and hopefully a vibrant community too. I like that aspect of SOLI. Does not mean just buying something for holding as an index. You can also actually participate in the product development to a large degree. So that was pretty cool. So okay, thanks for that, man. Tyler, we're gonna move forward to the session where we're gonna address some questions from the community in the chat here, and we have plenty of really interesting questions. So we might go 5 minutes over time or something like that. Cool. The best question is going to be picked by you, Tyler, like we discussed previously. We talked about some tokens involved here for the best question. What tokens will you guys provide?
Yeah, we're happy to give SOLI to even a few of the best questions, not just the best.
We like surprises, so let's see by the end of the AMA session here who many questions will be. Chio ask, has the team planned to integrate an index that includes the major layer 1 of crypto environment? And I suppose that means just like a L1 index, cross-chain. Is that something that you guys have been thinking about?
Yeah. So that's what we're calling L1 index. I don't know what the official name's going to be, but yeah, it's going to be Ethereum, Binance, Solana, AVAX, Phantom, maybe a couple others, all in one token, which currently is very hard because they're all on different blockchains. We have a clever way to get them all together in a decentralized way. So you can just have one token get exposure to all of them. Because if you were to do this yourself, you'd have to, pay a bunch of these bridge fees and have a bunch of different wallets, which just isn't user friendly. Or you could have the tokens on a centralized exchange, because I'm sure a lot of centralized exchange have all these tokens, but then you trust the centralized exchanges. And plus, two, we want to make it in a way where the weighting of Solana, Binance, Ethereum changes based on their market cap and based on the total value locked of the ecosystems. Because we've done some research, but we see as the ecosystem grows in TVL, usually that means the market cap of the token goes up. If we put that into the rebalance of the token, like hopefully it will outperform the market. But of course, we'll see.
Interesting. Oh, there you have it, Kitchio. Or Chichio. Chichio, not Kitchio. Anyway, so I think that was a really great reply to that question. I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. So question number 2, then. Question number 2 is from Massimiliano, and that is, will there be a Luna ecosystem index?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're looking at doing indexes on, I guess, really every chain. Our main blocker is we don't want to just launch tokens and forget about them. Like, we want them to make sure they're maintained and people can hold them for a long time and make sure there's actually use case on the blockchain. So that's where, for example, like this, where we work with the constituents, work with lending and borrowing platforms, or work with AMMs to do liquidity mining. Luna's definitely on our radar to be one of the next ones.
Cool. Well, we in Marinade here, there's a lot of community members that they appreciate Luna and Terra. Let's move forward to another question. I like this one from TikU, and this is question number 3, I believe. So the question is as follows. Do you have any thoughts on the metaverse? What does the metaverse mean for us?
So, yes, we do the metaverse, and it definitely is going to be the future. And we're looking at doing things in the metaverse and also like building a token around the metaverse. I guess I won't call it the metaverse because there's going to be metaverse is. Like, for example, you have Sandbox and Decentraland. Like, they're both a separate metaverse and like the Facebook metaverse. So, yeah, we're looking into all of them and we plan to do stuff in them.
Cool. Yeah, I was just going to drop my take on the metaverse.
I'd like to hear it.
Okay, so we are right now at this second in the metaverse. Like, look at me. I'm here with my freaking SMB, my profile picture, and my covers have cryptic, some like other dimension than reality, talking digitally. So we're in the metaverse constantly. I don't think there has to be a browser game or computer game to call it a metaverse. That's my take on it.
Yeah, definitely. You think of even Discord we're in right now. There's, I don't know how many servers, freaking million. And each server has its own take, and you can have your own profile picture and name in each server. I think you have to have Nitro, but yeah, it's just crazy how many people can be on here and be connected, and you can just switch between each community with just a simple click.
That's pretty trippy. Okay, cool. So, but that's metaverse talks. Gosh, it's so difficult to say your nickname, but yeah, you got your answer there. So let's move forward to the next question. And let's see. I like this one from IDO2. I think you were the first one to ask a question when I created this chat IDO2. So let's address this one right away. And so the question is as follows. Crypto index trading are not that popular yet. How does crypto index trading work? And what are the benefits compared to traditional index trading? Do you think it will play a bigger role in terms of mass adoption of crypto? So it's like a two-tiered question there.
Yeah, I think in terms of trading, so the goal of the index, or just indexes in general, of course they can be traded back and forth, but they're really meant to be like long-term holds. So volume, like we probably won't see a lot of volume, but that's fine because we just want holding. And as far as like these index products taking off, I think most of the crypto community right now, they're just looking for like the next 100x token. They're looking to make a lot of money in one token. And if you buy an index and one of the tokens in the index does do 100x, you don't get the full 100x because there's other tokens inside of it. So I think it's just a matter of like cultural shifts where people think, okay, I have part of my portfolio to more, safe assets and part to more like these risky, high risk, high reward. I think it's just, it'll take time, especially too, because Soli's 3 weeks old, so we only have 3 weeks of price data. So it's hard to make a decision on if it's worthwhile holding it if there's not much data. I think,
Yeah.
Did that answer the question?
I think the way I understand it, comparing to traditional index trading, is that I'm solely here, the Solana Defi index you guys provide. It's simply just too young, like it's 3 weeks old only. So it's difficult to draw a direct comparison to traditional index trading because you need that price history first, right?
Yeah, I think Vanguard was the first one to make these like ETF basket tokens, and that was in, I don't know, I don't want to give a history lesson, but I think it was in like the early 90s, and they didn't really take off until 2000s, and then not even really take off until 2010. That's
really?
20 years. When you think about that, like that's twice as long as Bitcoin's been out. Of course, we don't want it to take that long, but 3 weeks is
Well,
still a little short.
it's definitely not going to take that long. Like I said earlier, we're in crypto space here.
Yeah,
Like
the way
1
crypto
week
moves.
is like 1 month, and 1 quarter is like several years in the regular world. So
Yeah, there we go. So we got like 2 quarters. We'll be there.
yeah, exactly. 2 quarters is like 6-7 years or something in the
Yeah,
regular
yeah.
world. Yeah. Okay, cool. So let me move forward then to the next question. Question number 5, and this comes from 0x Saint. I appreciate this question. It says as following. How are you guys staying up to date with protocol/governance changes for protocols included in the index or outside the index?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the beauty of Soli is that it doesn't require like human interaction to know the updates in these tokens, because what it looks at is like market cap and liquidity in the dexes. Let's say one of these tokens stops developing or something, and the market cap takes a huge hit. Like the token will automatically leave the index with no requirement from us. And the same thing with updates with brand new tokens coming out in the Solana ecosystem. They will automatically be added once they meet the criteria of the market cap and the liquidity on dexes. Yeah, I guess the answer there is it'll do it automatically.
It automatically, even when it comes to like protocol changes based upon like governance votes and so on.
Like governance votes in what way?
I'm thinking you guys add a token to the list of tokens you guys have in the index, and there's a big vote on some like key decision of that specific token that is in the index that changes some fundamental aspect of it. Does your automated system pick that up, or do you do some continuous research about these projects as well?
Yeah, we definitely look at them because, like, of course, we don't want any scam projects or any weird projects. So the smart contract will automatically pick the tokens to be included in the upcoming rebalance. And with DFI and Pico, other 2 tokens, it's done it correctly. We haven't had to touch it, but we do have the ability to like blacklist it, to not add it, if it is.
Okay, so you do you have some manual control there as well. It's just making sure that everything is running smoothly too.
Yeah, we can if needed, but of course we don't want to, because if it works as intended, it will do it
There's no
all.
need. Yeah.
Smart contracts will do it
Yeah.
all. Yeah.
So perhaps like even like I'm thinking about the automated system. So if there's a big governance vote that changes some fundamental aspect of that token that's in the index, it should show in the smart contracts and like be picked up by your automated system either way. Thanks for that question, Chef Zane. So let's move forward to another question. So the question is simply, will there be any NFTs? Maybe an NFT index, who knows? What's your take on that, Tyler?
Yeah. You can tell from my profile picture, like I love NFTs. I have a lot of NFTs, like personally. So of course, I talk about them to the team, and we're definitely looking into it. There's nothing like yet, but I think once the NFT space matures a little bit more, like we will definitely have something in NFTs, and maybe even some NFTs ourselves. I don't know.
Oh,
We don't have anything in the plans, but I think it'd be super cool.
okay, cool. Now, we have a lot of people appreciating NFTs here within our community.
I see the listeners got like their NFT profile pictures.
Yeah, me myself, I'm like an amateur when it comes to NFTs, but I appreciate the NFT space. And we are launching our own governance NFT quite soon as well, which is going to be really cool. So, more about that later. I found another cool question. I think it was a question. Let's see. Yeah, from Origin Life. I like this question. That's the following. Currently, users need to swap or mint in SOL or USDC to get SOLI. And I suppose this is on the SOLI website or on the Amun website. So the question is, will mSOL be supported for the swaps in the future?
I think we could probably add that pretty easily. Let me bring that up. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I think it makes sense to. So yeah, the question is right now to mint solely you need either Sol or USDC. I guess you could take the mSOL and swap it to solely on Radium, but yeah, I think we could get mSOL added. That's a good idea since it is the largest constituent.
Yeah, it'll make it easier for a lot of users, I think, so they don't have to think about switching from mSOL to SOL USDC and then get back into or getting to SOLI.
Right,
Okay,
right.
cool. Thanks for that question, Origin Life. I don't think anybody really thought about that until you brought up the question. Cool. So I saw a question from our master chef, Lucia. Okay, so here's the next question.
Okay.
The question is as follows. Do DeFi momentum indexes work on Solana? Meaning, is the token on Solana? Is that question clear for you, Tyler? Because I was intrigued by the momentum index.
Yep. So yeah, we do have the DeFi Momentum Index token. It's on Ethereum right now, so it's Ethereum assets. I guess theoretically we could do one for Solana, but that one hasn't performed like the way it was expected, so we've like held off. I think to do like a momentum index, it requires some research and like trends based on when these tokens have upward momentum, how much momentum do they have, and like when does it come down, and how hard does it typically come down. So there's a lot of things to look at there before we. But is our momentum index trading on Solana? No, it's just on Ethereum.
Cool. So just on Ethereum didn't perform as expected, but it's definitely worth exploring the idea on having that on Solana, perhaps. Okay, cool. So I think that was the last question. We managed to address 8 questions, which is pretty good. So what I will do now, Tyler, I'm going to compile all these questions, the links to them. There were some really good questions there, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for the questions. And of course, it helps us like knowing what the community has questions about so we can, either make that more clear on the website or add something to how we explain solely. We're very young, so still learning. So any feedback is extremely helpful.
Cool. Working together with the community, that is key, I think, to a successful project.
Definitely. But awesome. Thank you guys for the questions.